What's going on, everyone? Sorry for the delay. Some slight audio issues on my mic, but I hope everyone's doing well. Welcome to Just a Tip. Today we're joined by Paul Munko of Munko Knives and Colorful Filth. Thanks so much for joining us. How's it going?
Dude, going awesome. Thank you so much for having me on here. Really excited. Really excited to hang out for a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So Tim isn't going to be able to join us today. He's out sick, so it's just going to be the two of us. We'll try and keep it to our normal hour-long format or so, and just casual Q&A. I'll try and watch the chat and pop up any interesting questions that come up. But just to kind of intro people who aren't familiar with Munko Knives and Colorful Filth, can you tell us a little bit about the brands?
Yeah, definitely. So I kind of put myself into a weird position where I have like two alter egos in the community, basically.
Right.
So Munko Knives is really where I focus on my production Foley knife designs, collaborations with company like Kaiser, Concept, an upcoming one with Best Tech, which is pretty exciting. And then Colorful Filth is sort of my more abstract art focused project. So there I'm doing some collaborations you might have seen with like Northern Knives, for example, the custom scales we've made with my artwork, sticker designs, graphic designs for makers and designers and stuff in the community. And yeah, those are kind of my two passion projects in the knife world, so to speak.
Right. And so this Colorful Filth, is it mainly focused in the EDC realm, or do you do a little bit of everything?
So I do a little bit of everything. It's definitely become something where like when I do have the time to do stuff in that sort of space of like creativity and like really kind of out there art, it has been focusing more and more on the EDC space. Funnily enough, before I was doing a lot in this space, which is a really passion project for me, I was doing a lot in the extreme sports realm. So I was doing stuff like skateboard decks and scooter decks and things like that. And one thing I noticed is that my passion for that sort of style definitely collided a lot with the EDC community, because there's a lot of crossover. Like a lot of people like tattoos in the community, and a lot of people like kind of out there artwork and stuff. So it kind of was just a natural progression into a hobby that I already had and has become more EDC focused, I guess.
Gotcha. And that EDC focus, it came a little bit before the knife designs, right? Like I think the first time I heard of you was through the NAFS collaborations, like the
Yes,
skills.
exactly. Yeah, so we did the Mars Kitty Banter scales, which was really fun. So that was after a few projects that I had done with Northern Knives, where we do something sort of similar. So I have a couple boxes next to me right now, and this is the wrong one. So let me grab the other
Always
one.
seems to be the wrong one.
Yeah, right. So this is one that. Oh, you know what? Give me 1 second. I forgot. I still have a plaque that I had at Blade Show. Give me 1 second.
No worries. Yeah, in the meantime, I'll show off another one of these NAFS Space Kitty designs. So this one's on the Baby Banter. The other one was on the Lander. Oh, perfect.
See if it'll unblur those.
You might have to put it kind of like in front of your body a little bit.
Can you see that? I'm just trying to...
It seems to be like censoring it. Not censoring,
Yeah,
but
right.
you know what I mean. There we go.
Maybe that looks better.
Oh, there you go. Yep.
So there's the Mars Kitty scales. We did Spyderco Spidey Chef, the Spaced Out Bug Out right there. So all of these projects were before I actually got into the actual knife production model design stuff, and I'm still working on that. I'm working on a new one with Northern Knives right now. Again, not on one of my knife designs, but just my artwork that they're going to be modifying with Cerakote and anodization and stuff like that.
Gotcha. And maybe this will be an easier way to show it, but if we take a look here, we can see some of those knife designs on the website a little bit without the glare.
Yeah, it looks way better.
Lynch Northwest here. And so all that came before the knife designs. How did you get into designing knives? Was it something where you were already working with the companies and thought, maybe I can license something out, or did they approach you on that?
Yeah, great question. So Basically, the way that I got into the actual production side of the Munko knives design sort of angle, I it was really a cold email to Kaiser. So, so basically, what I told them is, if you look, and I can actually pull it up. Um, the first knife that I ever did any modifications on with Northern Knives was actually that it was on a Kaiser. It was on a Kaiser Uprising, which
Okay.
was a few years ago, but I've always had sort of a soft spot for Kaiser because of that. And so I kind of took that to my I don't want to say to my advantage, but it gave me like kind of like I felt like there was already a connection there with Kaiser, because like it was sentimental that my first project in the community was on one of their knives. And after some people that I had worked with had sort of convinced me, like, you should try to design one, they seemed logically like the best people to reach out to first. And yeah, it was just crazy cool to be able to have that experience. And then we came up with the Comet.
Nice. And was that first one you customized, was that the Tarot design on the website?
That is, yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay, cool. And so that whole process, was it something that you already had kind of some ideas in the back of your mind, or did you start from scratch once you reached out to them?
It was completely from scratch, honestly. I had some ideas, but I'd really reached out just to learn more about what it means to license a knife and kind of what that whole arrangement looks like, because there was a lot of intricacies, and I had never really licensed things before. I'd always just created things like, hey, design me something. It was a one-time transaction, and so it was all new to me. So I really just got more information on that. I already had some ideas. I wanted to make something that was sort of a modern take on a smaller gentleman's carry sort of design, and yeah, that's what we ended up coming up with there.
Right. And so this one's a flipper with a bolster lock?
This one is a liner lock. So
Liner lock. Gotcha.
Put this the correct box again back up here. So yeah, the Comet is pretty small. Definitely like nice gentleman's carry size. And then yeah, it has a liner lock right in the center there.
Gotcha. Yeah, and so this one is probably a more budget-friendly design. I think it's 154 cm, if I remember correctly on it.
Yep, yeah. So all the versions of the Comet are in 154 cm, and I believe they're all pretty much the same price. I think there's like a $5 premium ish for this version, which is the one that comes with the red denim, as opposed to either green or black linen on the sort of more standard ones. And whenever they do a denim run, it's always a limited edition as well. So I think we made 400 of these guys here.
Gotcha. And then one thing that I think I've kind of noticed with your designs is you haven't done those like crazy custom scales like you did with some of the licensed stuff from Colorful Filth. Is there any plans to do that in the future?
Yeah, you know what's so funny? That's always been something I've had in the back of my mind, is like, that would kind of be the ultimate way to have them collide, right? Is like do that artwork on my own design. And to be honest, the reason I haven't is because I like bolsters so much, so I haven't designed a knife that's just a plain tie scale yet.
Right.
And so, you know, technically we would be able to talk to a manufacturer and an OEM X amount of, you know, a clairvoyant that is only titanium or something. But I think it's going to be something where when I do approach that, I'm going to want to design even the knife specifically for that project.
Gotcha.
You know, maybe won't have as many like swooping bevels and stuff, just because those tend to be a little bit harder to anodize and engrave and things like that. And really take that sort of modification from like the very beginning.
Gotcha. And then, so that second design, you stuck with Kaiser for that. How'd that one come about? Was it, they liked the first model, they approached you, or were you start to the drawing board right after you finished the first design?
Yeah, so really, as soon as I got the first one in hand, not even the finished version, just the prototype, it kind of like gave me this huge spark of energy, and I just started drawing nonstop different designs. And eventually, when I did land on the clairvoyant, they didn't approach me, but I did send over like my renderings and my mock-ups and everything, just to see if they were interested in it, and they were. I don't think they had a ton of button locks out at the time either, so I think it was kind of a good time for another button lock to come to Kaiser. So the first one we came out with was the shredded carbon version.
Right.
Then shortly after, we did this burlap and brass version of it. And there's a third version that exists now, and it's only it's a white mountain knives exclusive, which is this aluminum frag pattern, which is kind of the example of how it could sort of look without a bolster if I was to do something on that.
Right. Right. And then you went with the sheep split blade on this one, a lot larger than you would expect from the pictures when you have it in hand. I know I saw it at the show.
Right. Yeah, it's a pretty big knife. Really, the concept behind this one was creating something that's going to be kind of useful as like a camping sort of not so serious cooking tool. Just from like a blade shape standpoint and sort of a grip standpoint, it's nice for some really basic minimal food prep and things like that.
Right. And then so the next design, was that concept, or was that third design also Kaiser? Because I know you have worked with concept, but not sure the order after that.
Yeah, so the third one was still Kaiser. The third one was this guy here, the Kaiser Mystic,
Right.
which is a huge, gigantic knife.
Right.
But yeah, this one was interesting too because we ended up going with, it's a titanium bolster lock. It has similar green linen micarta scales to the Comet, but the blade on this is actually Rex 45, which is
right.
The only time I think Kaiser has done that. And I know it's definitely not like a super common steel, but the whole thought process behind the Mystic, there's a little bit of background if you guys are interested on my website too, is kind of the why. I'm from Connecticut, and one of the historical pieces of Connecticut is an old whaling port in Mystic, Connecticut, which is also where it's named after. So basically, the whole design itself is sort of weird from, it's like a really compressed down harpoon gun. And I just thought it would be cool to use something that's going to sort of patina and develop some character over time, because you think of things that are at sea and they kind of develop some character. And I thought using a really high performance steel that could still kind of give some of those attributes would be fun.
Right. And I'm going to try and pull up the website here so we can see what that harpoon looks like here.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's a wicked harpoon blade on there. And again, Rex 45, you don't see it too often. I think I only have one Rex 45 knife in my collection. It's a Spyderco, I want to say Mannix in Rex 45, but don't see it too often.
Yeah, it's pretty rare. And I love Spyderco and just keeping an eye on how they do things, because I feel like they're always in the front line when it comes to introducing new steels to production knife making and stuff like that. And I have I don't have a Rex 45 knife from them, but I do have a Maximate PM2, which I love. I have it right here. Actually, I forced a patina on it, but I love this thing. It's got these super clunky copper scales, and it's way too heavy to be practical, but I just love the way it looks.
Yeah, I have a shipwrecked copper PM2 that's also ridiculously heavy.
Yeah, exactly. But it's fun.
You guys saw a question way up about how much influence do the OEMs have on like changing your designs, or is it basically you that's kind of doing the tinkering as you're kind of going through that process?
So I've heard mixed things. Like people have had sort of different experiences. What I've noticed with mine is the only things that have really been changed from a design standpoint were if I missed a glaring technical issue, like if for whatever reason the pivot placement wasn't correct, or there would be some sort of issue with lockup or something. Like there have been small sort of just use case changes, but the overall design has been pretty consistent. The only thing that I have had a little bit of surprises with, never a negative surprise, but just surprises, is some of the material choices when it comes to like, oh, we're releasing a brand new version of a knife. Here's this material. Sometimes that's a surprise, but I always think it's cool. I haven't had them pick one that I don't like yet. So.
Right. And do you go in with certain steels and materials in mind, or it's really just depends on what they have available and what they're able to work with?
Yeah, so I'll present it with a couple different variations of like what I would see to be the ideal material configuration. Basically, when I send them a mock-up, you'll see the knife from all the different angles, and then I have some specific bullet points of like, hey, here's a really specific thing that I want to make sure we retain in whatever you guys do. So they like kind of bullet it out a little bit. And then on the other side, I'll kind of give like 2 to 3 material configurations, whether it be from like coated blade to what type of micarta to what type of bolster, blade steel. And usually we get pretty close to that, if not exactly what's sort of in that section of the mock-up.
Gotcha. And then I kind of alluded to this earlier already, but I think the fourth knife design was the concept Cosmos. And so
Yes.
you made the switch over to concept. Was that something where you just kind of wanted to test the waters with a different brand, or maybe timeline wise that just fit better for you?
No, so Concept had actually reached out to me. I think it was a little bit after the Clairvoyant had released. And they were super nice. They liked what I had done so far. They liked like the photos and stuff that I was taking of things. And they just kind of offered the opportunity to try collaboration together. And then that's what came of this guy right here, the Cosmos.
Gotcha.
It's my favorite version with the Timascus.
Yeah, it looks great.
Thank you. Yeah, this one is a really polarizing design. Some people really like the Warncliffe blade, and some people are like, "Why the hell is that blade on that handle?" But
I think you get that with most designs, right?
yeah, exactly,
A little
definitely,
bit of it at least.
definitely.
And then I think last on the knife design, correct me if I'm wrong, but at Blade Show you had a proto for the Bestech, new Bestech.
Yes.
So that's your fifth design, right?
Yep, this is my fifth one, first one with the Bestech, and this is the one prototype that I do have. I believe we're going to do 4 variations total, but this is going to be called the Constellation. Really, really slender, kind of going back down to a little bit of a gentleman's carry sort of vibe with this one. Gets really thin up here. It really lets your fingers lock in when it comes to kind of having a full like hammer grip on it or something. But yeah, there's gonna be a few different variations of this. I believe we're still deciding on the actual blade steel that we're gonna go with. I'm trying to see if Magna Cut is a possibility. I think that would be really cool. But yeah, so titanium bolster lock. There's gonna be 2 coated versions with scale materials, and then there will be 2 uncoated stonewashed versions as well. So I know some people aren't super big fans of coated blades, so I always try to, if we're gonna do one coated, have at least one that's not.
Right, that makes sense. And do you know when that one might be releasing, or kind of general window at least?
I don't have a date yet. I'm hopeful for like Q4 this year would be great. Really, we pretty much started production right after Blade Show, as far as making those final revision comments and then moving into the actual production of them. So I believe if they haven't started yet, it should be starting, I would imagine, this month. And hopefully a few months from there, they'll actually be on shelves.
Awesome. And so Blade Show, was this your first ever Blade Show?
So it was my first time exhibiting. The year prior was my first time visiting.
Gotcha. And how was it? What was that experience like?
Dude, it was so much fun. And thank you everybody in the comments, by the way, for the kind words on the designs. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it was awesome, man. Like, the only thing I didn't like about it was I didn't get to experience Blade Show as like a fan because I didn't get to like see all the tables and like talk to as many people on that level that I wanted to. But it was so cool to be able to just talk to a bunch of people, meet a bunch of people that I've previously only spoken to online. Have people come to the table and be like, oh, like, somebody has one of your designs, or I have one of your designs in my pocket right now. And it's just really awesome to be able to meet people in that personal, like, face-to-face level. So I already pre-booked the same location for next year. Like, I'm just going to keep doing it as much as I can.
I feel like you had the perfect location. Were you able to choose that, or did you just like luck out that that table was available and that's what they assigned you?
I got really lucky, and I'm really grateful that happened because, yeah, basically it was in the secondary room, the baller room, I call it, yeah. And so, which is fine, but somehow I managed to get a space of somebody who must have canceled that's in the very first row of like the aisle. Yeah, it was like I was right on the main aisle. And at first I wasn't even gonna be able to have a table. When I reached out to them, I was like kind of late, and they're like, everything's full, but we'll let you know. And then like an hour later, they had a spot open up, and they emailed me, and I just jumped on it right away. And I didn't even know that's where it would be, but it ended up being a really, really good spot. So super excited about that. And next year, since I had it this year, I was able to secure the same table.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know some of the booths, even in the like main room, they get so lost that even with the map, I was having a hard time finding them. So
Yeah,
getting like prime real estate in one of the main aisles or the main rows is, yeah, clutch
definitely,
for sure. And
definitely.
Armageddon Outdoors, he may have actually met you at Blade Show. I know he was there with his son. He was wondering if you thought about using Damasteel on any of them. I know you're using like Damascus on the handles. So
Yes, yeah, I would really love to do that, and I think I've sort of mentioned it. I've noticed a lot of companies sometimes it won't start with super premium materials. I was honestly surprised that Concept even wanted to do a Timascus version of the Cosmos as like a first batch type thing.
right,
But I've noticed companies kind of roll out like, okay, this knife did pretty well. Let's make this kind of like bougier version of it that has these kind of crazier materials. But I definitely do want to do that because that's my favorite blade steel material, just from an aesthetic standpoint. Because um, I'm not like super hard using any of my knives. So performance is
right.
important to me, but I also really care about aesthetic, and a damn steel would be really fun to use, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. And with that Best Tech branded knife, I think it was branded under Best Tech, but someone's asking me, is that going to be a Munko Design branded knife or a Best Tech?
Yep. So this one is still licensed to Best Tech, so it will be Munko Designs and Best Tech collaboration.
Gotcha. And
I
do you
do
have
want,
any plans? Oh, there we go.
yeah, I do want to OEM something at some point. It's just a big financial investment, really,
For sure.
and I think I just want to like really know like this is what I want to be my first like Munko knives only design. I think I'm
Right.
close to that design, but I don't know that I'm 100% there yet. But definitely in the works to do that in the future for sure.
For sure. And then I was curious about, so with Northern Knives, you did a lot of those scales. Were they actually the ones doing the anodization and you submitted the artwork, or did you do the anodization and send that back to them as well?
Yeah, good question. So I'm really doing just the artwork and the planning as far as like, this section would be cool based on how I drew it with Cerakote. Maybe we could anodize this section. So I'm doing all the art and it's almost like I'm doing the art and then sending them like a coloring book version of it.
Right.
But they're extremely talented when it comes to creating like custom jigs and doing the Cerakote and Ano and all this crazy laser work that I can't even totally comprehend how they do it, but they do a
Right.
really awesome job.
Yeah, it's really cool how much detail they're able to get in the anodizations and the Cerakoting. Um, I was picturing like a color by numbers where it's like segments with like number 5 for blue and number 3 for yellow.
It exactly that's kind of what it is. I just like spot fill it because it's interesting designing artwork with Ano in mind because there's realistically, there's a handful of colors. It's kind of like you have blue, green, yellow. You can't really do too much in terms of like gradation between things. So it is kind of like a color by numbers to plan out that artwork and make sure that it looks properly illustrative without being something that's not physically possible.
Right. And that's probably a tough thing with the art segment of it is like with titanium or with aluminum, they anodize differently and different colors are possible on that spectrum. So like working with that specific palette.
Hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's where it was kind of cool because when we did the spaced out bug out, I think was the first one we actually introduced Cerakote. That sort of opened up to like, okay, now there's 2 or 3 colors that could really be like whatever we want. We need to be sort of strategic with its implementation as well, just to make sure that it's not too intricate since it is a spraying medium. But now I have a little bit more flexibility in terms of actual color usage and with the artwork side of things because of the Cerakote.
Yeah, for sure. And then if someone did want to like license a design, do you do like small batch stuff or is it really just these kind of bigger collaborations?
So we've just done sort of these bigger, almost like mass drop style drops
Right.
with Northern Nights specifically. So we haven't done a one-off in that regard yet, where like I do the artwork and then they
Right.
make it. I know they do one-off customization. I don't know that it's as cost conscious as kind of like our larger scale collaborations, just because of the economies of scale, and we're able to really reduce the cost on something we're going to make like 200 or 300 of. But they do it, and I'm 100% open to a collaborative one-off project with Northern Knives where I could do the artwork and they could do like a one-time thing. I think that could be really cool.
Gotcha. Yeah, for sure. Was it a lot different with the like NAF stuff or the banter stuff, depending on, I guess some of it was Civivi and all of that, but was it a lot different designing it for G10 scales than it is for titanium?
So it was a lot easier, actually,
Okay.
because basically with G10 you could just print on it. So
Right.
it's a special printer, but I was able to go completely crazy, and I was able to treat it more like a normal illustration that you'll see like on my website or on my Instagram. Something to be used for like a sticker or just digital graphics or something. I could really use the full spectrum, which made it not as thought intensive to figure out how to make the most out of a limited palette.
Yeah, for sure. And then kind of switching gears here, before you were designing your own knives, what were you typically carrying on a day-to-day basis, knife-wise and other EDC items?
Great question too. Let's see. So I have two boxes. I have my knives and then I have my collection of knives. So, oh man, you know what's so funny, because I really do. I always have like prototypes now, so now I'm always carrying a prototype.
Right.
But I would say my most common carry that I loved a lot is this this busker, Olamic busker with Damasteel. It has the dense twist. It kind of looks like a pickle, which is funny.
Yeah,
But yeah, so this was one that I have had on me frequently. I love this design just in general. The busker is incredible. And then I also have another Olamic design I carried a lot, which is the Wayfarer 247.
Ooh.
Which has some really cool. There's really subtle purple anodizing on the inside of the handle on this one, but then you have this like raw engraved titanium for everything else. Olamic does crazy stuff. I love these knives.
Yeah, I always make sure to stop by their table at the show, but I haven't picked one up yet. But man, both of those are beautiful.
Yeah, they're great. What is your usual carry?
It really varies from day to day. I try and kind of switch it out. I try and carry both a fixed blade and a slip joint most days. And I've started carrying fixed blades a little bit more also, as long as I'm leaving the house and want to carry it in my pocket. If I'm just kind of sitting around at home, I don't have like a fixed blade strapped to my hip or anything like that.
Right.
But yeah, like today I was carrying this EK Integral. I think it might be the same one I was carrying last week, actually. It's a Les George, Alan Leishowitz design Integral based off of fixed blade design that they had previously.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, I've been carrying that one. I was carrying the Buck. I just did a video on this Buck Saunter 250. It's a modern slip joint construction.
Nice. Is that fat carbon
too? This one is camo carbon. It's the America camo carbon, but it's really similar to the Nebula fat carbon. So kind of same colors palette there with the red, white, and blue. Just a little bit less busy. I feel like there's a little bit more spread out compared to the fat carbon.
That's awesome. Have you ever seen one of these? It's ridiculous. It's absurd. So, it's funny because I've never carried a fixed blade, but this is almost like the only fixed blade I actually have even in my collection. But this is also made by Olamic, and it's like this little Damascus hatchet, but it's actually like stupid sharp. Obviously, it's not really for anything super useful.
Chopping like that, yeah.
Yeah, but it's just cool. Super
yeah, you can
cool.
almost use it like a mini ulu or something. You know?
Yeah, but pretty fun random piece
there. Yeah, that's fun. I haven't seen that. I know there's a company out there that makes I can't remember the name of it. Stacy Bolstered Blade. She was on here a little bit earlier. She might know what I'm talking about. I think she may have something from the company, but just can't remember the name of it right now. But I know there's other companies that make some of those like mini axes and picks. But yeah, really cool.
Definitely.
What about non-knife gear? Are you carrying multi-tools, flashlights, hanks, pens?
So I do have this one's in my pocket a lot. This is the Sean Design Pocket 6, the brass faceted version of it. So this is a fully machined brass fountain pen, and the texture on it is just crazy. So I do enjoy this a lot. I also have a couple of these machine era fountain pens as well, which is also, this one is machined brass too, a little bit slimmer, a little bit less ornate, I guess. And then I have a couple of other things. I actually picked up a Zirconium Big Idea Design fountain pen at Blade
Nice.
Show, which I've been keeping in my work bag. And the Machine Era also has a new mechanical pencil they just came out with, and a matching just regular pen, both out of machined titanium, which is somewhere in a bag. But those are kind of just always with me too.
Very nice. How'd you get into fountain pens, and any advice, I guess, for someone new to them? I just had one sent to me actually, in
Really?
exchange for some patches, and I've been wanting to get into them and just really don't even know where to start.
Yeah, definitely. So the biggest, honestly, where I learned a lot about knives is also where I learned a lot about fountain pens in the beginning, was YouTube, and then also Reddit, like the specific communities about them.
Right.
Um, and there's a lot of really good information about like kind of which are some good on different budget levels inside of the fountain pen subreddit. The reason I got into them is I realized how useful they could be from an artistic standpoint, because when I'm actually doing ink drawings on paper, that sort of variable nib size and like flexibility of like I press harder, I get a broader stroke, really became awesome for kind of pen and ink style drawings and stuff when I was doing a lot more of those. So that was kind of what got me into it. And then I realized, oh, there's a ton of crossover with this and this, what's in my pocket hobby that I have too. So kind of
Right.
just worked out.
Yeah, interesting. And it seems like the EDC community is starting to get more into fountain pens too, like Big Eye Design, and seeing them from companies that aren't just pen companies, but actually EDC companies. So that's definitely something that's going to be interesting in the next year or two, just unique designs coming out from EDC companies.
Definitely. Yeah. I think like, there was this huge bolt action pen kick, which is still around, but like if for a while they were everywhere. And I am starting to see some people taking it back. And I think it's cool because you really get to have like so much more variability in like ink colors. Like you can have shimmering inks and these like pearlescent type inks.
Right.
And it just kind of opens up your writing experience. The only unfortunate part about investing in fountain pens is that then you also need to invest in better paper, because if you try to write on regular paper, it's not a
Cuts
good
through it.
time.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Have you thought about designing that sort of thing, like pens or any of your other interests in the EDC?
I would love to do a pen. I don't know where I would start with that. But that's another like sort of internal goal of mine, is I would love to design like a machine pen and do some sort of collaboration like that, because I really just think of it like in the context of what I'm using every single day. It's knives, it's pens. That's kind of the most of it as far as like my EDC stuff. I have some flashlights too, nothing too crazy. I have like a copper Olight, which I think is by my bed. But yeah, I love getting into working on the things that I use regularly, because it's fun to like use something that you worked on yourself.
Gotcha. And Splitting Slices just hit it. Wingard Wearables, the company I was thinking of, with the mini tomahawks and their picks, which are called the dick pick.
That's so good.
Yeah, yeah, but really cool stuff. One area where I think might be kind of cool, we had Awesome Hank on last week. Well, art from Awesome Hank on last week, and or 2 weeks ago now it was, I guess. And he does a lot of Hank designs, but I feel like your art would work really well on a Hank design too.
That would be really cool. I've only ever done one thing that ended up on a Hank, and it was a collaboration with Adam Purvis of A Purvis Blades. I designed him this like fireman's helmet thing, and it was put on like a limited run of those, and that was really cool. But it was kind of like a tessellated tiled thing. I would, if somebody wanted to work on a Hank, I would do that all day. That'd be really fun.
Yeah, that would be super cool. So in terms of future designs, what can we expect? Do you have anything in the works that's not in prototype stage that you want to talk about yet, or prefer to keep it under wraps?
So I do have a few things. I think in like various stages of R&D and prototyping, there's like 6 or 7 models currently somewhere in that process right now. One of them is going to be something completely new to me from a design standpoint. It's going to be a slip joint, which I think is going to be really cool. It's intended to be sort of like the Comet, but a little bit more delicate, a little bit more like Art Deco inspired in terms of contouring and inlays and things like that. That's one that I'm really excited about. I do have a collaboration coming up with Kaiser that is also a collaboration with another designer who has worked with Kaiser a lot. So it's kind of like a 3-person deal.
Right.
So that one will be really cool. I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, just some more standard things. I do have something in the works, a couple more things in the works with like Concept and Kaiser and stuff that I'm definitely looking forward to getting prototypes of.
Awesome. And with that slip joint, are you trying to go the more traditional route, or is it going to be modern construction with tooled hardware and pocket clip, lanyard holes, that type of thing?
Yeah. So it's going to be a little bit more, definitely a little bit more modern. I think I'm going to try to do lanyard pin on it. And yeah, definitely more modern hardware and everything. Something that's going to be easy to, I guess, work on as much as a slip joint can be.
Right. Yeah, that's one thing with slip joints, even modern slip joints. I've never taken one apart. It's just something about it. It's like a little bit more intimidating than a modern locking knife where you kind of know where everything goes and it fits back together how you'd
Right.
expect it to fit back together.
Right.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
any plans on a fixed blade at some point?
That's another thing I would love to do. I've actually thought that I feel like the Mystic would be a really cool platform for a fixed blade because I'll just be able to make the blade so much bigger, really. And then
Right.
I work a little bit more with that handle ratio. One of the biggest things that I try to think about when designing in general is that ratio of blade to handle. And like I love when I think probably the best example of it would be the Clairvoyant, where it kind of gives the vibe when it's open of like it
Does
almost
that
looks like
fit?
it shouldn't fit.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and so I love that look. I love when the blade is a little bit bigger, and I think having that sort of extra flexibility with a fixed blade, where it's like I don't need to think about it closing properly or lining up like this or something, would be really cool. And
Right.
the Mystic would be a fun direction to take that, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And is that something that you would shop with the kind of same OEMs that you've been working with, or would you look for someone who kind of specializes in fixed blades?
I think I've seen some really good fixed blades come out of Kaiser lately, and I think it would be like doing right by them to at least offer the concept to them first. And if they didn't take it, then maybe it would go somewhere else. But yeah, I think I would definitely stick with them if they wanted to take it on to do the fixed blade version of the Mystic.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I have many of their fixed blades. I think I might have one, and yeah, perfectly happy with it. So that'd be cool
Yeah, definitely.
for sure. What about on the colorful fill side of the house? Do you have any new projects in the work that obviously you can talk about? Obviously, if you're working with someone, you may be kind of bound to not say. So don't want to step on your toes too much there.
So the one hint I can, well, yes, we are working on another one, and I'm super excited for it. And it's going to be, I hopefully people like it, because one thing that we did recently is we brought just looking at that Comet, a Comet fixie would be sick too, honestly, especially if it was like an
Right.
XL. That'd be
Yeah.
super cool. So one thing that we did when we did the pry bar was we kind of went back to sort of the spaced out bug out and kind of took some inspiration. We had the same character, same sort of color schemes and things, and brought it over so it almost feels like a set. So this next one that we're doing is kind of going back to what we did with the Spidey Chef and that sort of underwater scuba theme.
Right.
And I guess really the hint that I could give about it right now is it's going to be shark themed, which should be fun. So
That's cool.
yeah, it'll be cool. Hopefully
Yeah.
people like it, but I'm excited about it.
I love that kind of stuff. It also kind of, I think, hypes up the secondary market for that original item. Also, of people going back to try and find the matching Spidey Chef to go with their pry bar, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I've seen some absurd listings on eBay, and I mean, I don't think anybody's ever purchased one, and I'm completely okay with that because or like I said, one of our goals when we do these modification projects is to make it as easy to grab if you want it as possible. It's a lot of the times if we get enough orders, it's not even that much more than the cost of like a normal PM2 or something, for example. So yeah, it's I've seen people like put them on eBay for like $2,000, and I'm just like, don't do that. Like,
yeah, that's one thing right now is it seems like the secondary market's just dead right now. All the prices
yeah,
have gone down, so hopefully we see a little bit less of that. It makes some of this stuff become a little bit more accessible.
yeah, definitely. It's like I feel like we still have some of that weird COVIDness from everything was inflated. Everybody wanted everything really really badly. Even like different the watch market is going down quickly. Like so many watches tanked in value that were worth double or more their MSRP like 2 years ago.
Right.
Definitely a little shift in the economy that we're feeling, that's for sure.
Yeah. Are you into watches?
Yeah, definitely.
What's your daily?
So my daily is this guy. It's an Oris Divers 65 with a bronze bezel. Let me undo the background blur real quick. But yeah, I love this watch. I've had it for a couple of years now. It's I don't know how well it translates here, but it has sort of the gilded indices and everything, and then
Right around there.
Yep, and then the actual bezel itself is made of bronze, so it kind of has a cool greenish sort of patina going on, which I like a lot. I wear this a lot, and then I also have a green Seiko Alpinist that I like a lot.
Very nice. Yeah, I've been getting more into them lately, specifically more into like the mechanical watches, less quartz, although I'm wearing a G-Shock today. But been getting more into them, and then also trying to find more materials. So I have like the titanium, the stainless steel, but I'm looking for like brass, copper type bezels just to mix it up a little bit. So that's kind of my next hunt right now.
Yeah, definitely. Watches are super cool. Oris is a really cool company because they are all mechanical. They are a privately owned Swiss manufacturer, so they're not one like Omega or something that's been swallowed by the Swatch Group.
Right.
They put out a really good product, and it's not absurdly priced for
Right.
comparatively in the market or something. They do like full bronze watches. They actually do a full bronze bracelet and all version of the Diver 65, which is pretty cool.
That is cool.
Pretty cool. Another one to look at is it's more of a micro brand, Zelos, or maybe it's yeah, so Zelos. They've done like Timascus watches and stuff, which is pretty cool.
I haven't seen that. I'm familiar with Celos, but haven't seen the Damascus. And I
Yeah,
think both of them do a really good job with like weird color dials.
yes,
like less traditional colors, I guess I should say.
Yeah, like Oris just had one come out, and it's a titanium watch. It's I want to say it's the Pro Pilot maybe, but it's like it has this lime green dial, and after the the hour or the day marker on 31 is like Kermit the Frog's face instead of and it's like I feel like it's cool when people take things not so seriously, or when companies are designing not so seriously, and I think it makes a lot of fun.
Exactly. I have a hard time picturing myself designing a knife, but I've always wanted to design a watch for some reason.
Yeah, that would be so cool. I feel like it's so difficult though, especially it's so mathematically like perfect everything needs to be, but it would be very cool.
Exactly.
Would be really cool.
So running up on time, I'm gonna open up the floor to questions in the comments, but also anything else you want to promote while you have us?
Definitely if you're interested in some of the design work that I've been doing, one of the best ways to stay up to date now is going to be my newsletter. The reason being, and I'm sure everybody's seen it to some extent, is Instagram. While I'm still on there, I'm still active, I'm still posting as much as possible. Instagram doesn't like us anymore, apparently. So I'm not getting like any reach or anything. Even people who are following me are now really not seeing my posts as much as they have. So yeah, as far as like really staying up to date and like definitely knowing when a product or a project with Northern Knives comes out, or a new knife design with any of the companies I collaborate with, the newsletter is the place to be, because that's the one thing that can't really be nerfed by an outside source.
Right. Yeah. And I know I've seen around I don't know who it was, that Instagram posted looking for feedback, and Notorious EDC had been put a comment that gained a lot of traction on there that I think turned into actually some sort of petition that you can sign to uncensor Instagram. So if you guys see that out there, be sure to jump on it, because like you said, I've noticed with a lot of the accounts that I follow, I never see them unless I'm looking for them. So
Yeah.
once I search them up, I might see them for a couple of days again, and then they'll just kind of disappear off my feed again. So really, really hard to get any sort of visibility on Instagram posts nowadays.
100%. And I think I'm trying to find this right now, because I'm trying to just find the link to it, because I did sign that petition and I tried to get a bunch of people to sign it. It had a lot. I don't remember the URL right now, but
yeah. I'm
sure
trying to think of, I think a lot of the times I was seeing it, it was in stories. And so the problem with that is they disappear after 24 hours. So once you lose that link, it's been tough to find it again. But same thing, I was looking for it the other day and I'm like, where can I find this now that that story's gone?
Yeah, if you go to Levon's page, the Knife Nuts page, I believe it's there. Yes. So
okay,
if you go to Association for Artisantools.org, it'll take you to where you could actually sign it. I'll put it in the chat.
Perfect. Yeah, I just threw it up in there too, actually.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so definitely. What is it at now? I'm curious.
Let me check.
4,500. Wow, that's great.
That is pretty good.
That's really, really good. So we'll see. I mean, I would love for Instagram to become my, my main spot again, because I love taking photos of stuff, and I love being able to post them and like talk to everybody on there. But they've made it really hard lately.
Yeah, unfortunately. You know what's strange is that I feel like Pinterest is a very knife-friendly platform, but no one actually uses it because it's more like thought of as like home craft type stuff. But they seem to be pretty knife-friendly and like prepper-friendly for some reason.
Interesting. I never even would have thought of that. But do you go on there a lot to like find new knife content?
Not really, because it doesn't seem like there's a crowd there for it, but they don't seem to have any problem with it, like censoring the posts. I've tried posting some of the stuff on there. They have no problem promoting it.
Interesting. Have you seen any moving over to like Twitter at all, or X, or whatever it is now?
Yeah, I've seen a little bit for Twitter and a little bit for Threads. Threads seems to have died out pretty quickly, I feel like.
Yeah.
I know some people are moving over to Twitter.
Definitely. That is, Pinterest getting taken over by EDC people would be hilarious.
That would be. And I pinned a comment here also from him. Don't think this question's made it through, but what's your favorite knife that does align with your normal design language and preferences?
Okay. This one's a little crazy out there. This is definitely not something I would even have the capability to design. This is a ridiculous custom out the front knife. It's called the Shrike. It's by a custom maker, Scott Topper. And I don't know how well you could see that, but it has this insane like filigree engraving.
Yeah.
Everything on there. And there's no screw-based hardware. You pull out these pins, and if you take out all the rings, you could just get completely inside and see the spring.
That's wild.
And the entire inside is also engraved like ridiculously. It's just such a freaking awesome idea. And the blade is also absurd. And yeah, it's crazy. So definitely outside the realm of what I would make, but it's just so cool. It's super cool.
Yeah, that's insane. Did you say who made it?
Yeah, so this is the Shrike. It's by Scott M. Topper.
Scott and
Um,
Tucker.
I think this might be honestly the only design that he's made. There've
That's
been
wild.
like a couple of them on like Arizona Custom Knives and stuff, but really crazy stuff.
Yeah, that is wild. Another question from the chat. If you could collab with anyone in the knife industry on design, who would it be and why?
I think that's a really good question. I would honestly, I mean, maybe it was a given because of some of my answers earlier. I would love to design a knife with Olamic. But I love the owner of Olamic. Eugene's a really great guy. And I've done some work with him with like stickers and things. And I also just love how they take, their baseline models and just there's infinite ways that they modify them. And I would love to see like how their team kind of interfaces with one of my designs and does crazy stuff to it. I think that could be super cool. From a less like mid-techy, more production level standpoint, I think like a Rayot collab would be really cool, just because they've always been that like quintessential, high quality overseas manufacturer. I have this one from them, the Jack, which is another beast of a knife. All brass scales there too. It's an integral, but then it has the brass overlays, damascene steel and everything, and their quality is just insane. I love what they produce, so there would be another goal collab for sure.
That's interesting. Yeah, I feel like we don't see that many integrals anymore. I think it got hot like 4 or 5 years ago, and don't see a ton of them now.
Yeah, it's true. It's definitely true. I don't know why. I know that there's a big material cost like messing up an integral, which I'm sure has a lot to do with it. But
right, that makes sense.
I think I only have one other, and it's this one's pretty cool. This is an A-purpose design, the Zerks, and it's yeah, pretty.
Oh yeah, that's an
Pretty
interesting spine there.
Yeah, the blade's pretty wild, but love the grind on it.
Yeah, nice compound grind on there.
Yeah,
that's super slick.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
Awesome. And it looks like Mrs. Very Good Knife Company over here is posting to Pinterest and getting some attention. So there are some knife people on Pinterest apparently.
I'm gonna have to try that out. Definitely gonna have to try that out. Yeah, right.
Anything's allowed on X. So. But all right. Well, that was all the questions I have. If there's anything else you want to talk about, obviously feel free. But if not, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me on. Really appreciate this. Would love to do this again sometime. And it was great to meet you formally at Blade Show. Are you going next year?
Yeah, I should be there. Awesome. I'm trying to make Texas next year also. So we'll see.
Me too. Yeah. I would like to try to. Have you gone to any of the ones outside of Atlanta before?
No, not Blade shows. I do all of like my local stuff, and there's a few local shows here in California, but only Blade Show Atlanta as far as the Blade shows go.
Gotcha. Yeah. I would like to sort of expand out in that realm a little bit too, but definitely we'll see you in Atlanta again, and I know we'll be talking on Instagram and stuff before then. But yeah, really appreciate the opportunity to be on your show, and really appreciate everybody who was here hanging out with us, asking some questions. It was a really good time, and happy to do it whenever you want.
Yeah, definitely. We'll hang out for a minute after I end the stream, but thanks everyone for coming on. Thanks to Bluminati Ninja, who is modding for us tonight. Also his birthday, so, well, not today, belated birthday, so make sure to wish him a happy birthday. Also wanted to mention doing an extra show this week on Thursday with Donnie of Jack Wolf Knives right before the Benny release. So it'll be Thursday at 6 p.m. Haven't scheduled that one yet, but should be seeing that here soon. But thanks again for coming on. Thanks everyone for joining us, and have a great week.
Thanks, guys.